Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Lou. This is the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway for all your sports betting activities. Hit the QR code that you see here on the screen or follow the link that you see in the description of this podcast. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still calming down a little bit. Raptors, look, they needed to execute better down the stretch. That's something that you can always hold a team accountable to that. And of course, the Raptors made plenty of mistakes, and we'll get into that. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm still cheesed off that officiating, man. It's actually like when do you see an and one taken away for a foul on the floor, man? That RJ. So the play in question was the Raptors were, I believe, in a tie game. RJ Barrett has Jalen Brunson on him, turns around, goes up for the shot, finishes through the contact, very obvious foul. And the crowd goes crazy. Things are looking good. And all of a sudden, you see Tony Brothers with his one eyebrow jump in from the sideline and be like, no, it's on the floor. Well, who wants to see that, really? Actually, that's on the floor. Like, how about this? How about the fact that he was getting fouled the whole way through a shooting motion and the man finishes an and one? Why would you deny an and one in that situation? No, seriously, like, what was yeah, it's unbelievable. Raptors lose tonight 113 to 108. Leave your questions in the comments. Producer Alex is there looking for this, but for everyone else who is tuned in here, it's just upsetting. And again, like, there's multiple things can be true. The Raptors need to execute better down the stretch because this is the pattern that's showed up all season for the Raptors. And also some of the calls down the stretch. I feel so bad for RJ in a game like this, man. RJ Barrett, all this man does is drive downhill over and over again, right? Over and over again. And ultimately, you know what? He gets blocked in the last play in a tandem with Cat and OG, whatever. That's on him. That's not a foul, whatever. But this man drives 20 times a game, 25 times a game. In a game like this, when Scottie Barnes goes down again, he walks out of there with 2 free throw attempts. You're telling me he got fouled one time going to the basket in all of his 20 times? It's absurd. It's actually like trash. It's trash. Meanwhile, Karl-Anthony Towns is like barreling full speed into Kelly Olynyk, literally knocks him back from the lane all the way to like the sideline. And even after review, they're like, well, their feet touched. That's a foul. Fuck out of here, man. I actually feel like so Raptors fought hard tonight. Raptors ultimately didn't play well enough. The Knicks obviously have a lot of talent. There's a veteran team. That's a team that, I think it should be the third best team in the West in the Eastern Conference this season. They're pretty much right there, the 4th seed. They got a lot of talent. It's great to see OG before the game. Karl-Anthony Towns, obviously a very talented player, knocking down 2 huge threes down the stretch there, including the one where he put him up 5, and then he held up the jersey and said, this is New York. This is what we win. Honestly, I'm happy for you, Carl. I'm happy for you, Carl. But like, I mean, damn, you might as well put that Knicks jersey on Tony Brothers as well, man. That was trash. I feel like we were denied of a better ending than that. And whatever, like, honestly, even with those shots, there's no guarantee the Raptors win. Even if you call that as an and one, which it should have been, rather than on the floor, man, who wants to see that? Yo, you got people paying thousands of dollars to go to the game, courtside in the best outfits. People, really excited. Shouts to Tangerine at our live event actually earlier this month. We were able to hand out some tickets to some fans, and we saw them at the game as well. They got some great seats courtesy of Tangerine. Everyone's in the building. You know what I mean? It's a great mood. It's a great game. OG's back. So much good vibes. And Tony Brothers like, nah, actually, it's on the floor. Anyway, Raptors didn't play well enough down the stretch. We can start there. We can work back to the fact that RJ Barrett had 30 points. We can also work back to the fact that Scottie Barnes left this game in the third quarter after a really strong start to that third quarter when he knocked down 2 threes. And another short turnaround jumper in the lane was looking good. Raptors are building a lead, and then he turns his ankle and was ultimately ruled out. So that's really unfortunate. We can talk about the fact that Jakob Poeltl set a career high for the rookie at 19 points. Should have been 20. Should have made the and one on the 4-point play there. Missed a free throw that could have given his first ever career 20-point game. We could talk about Jonathan Mobile and some of the playmaking that he made here tonight. But yeah, I mean, we got to start with the late game execution. Late game execution, Raptors, honestly, like, this has been their number one issue all season. And I know that there's still a big proponent of like, well, they're tanking, this and that. I promise you, they are not tanking when they are close in a game and these are competitors and they're looking to close. Obviously, it's more painful that this is a young team having to hit their head on the same mistake over and over again. But that's just what's happening here. And there just needs to be better execution by the team down the stretch. You know what? As frustrating as that N1 denied taken away is, what's also frustrating is RJ comes off the pick, gets a double team, and for some reason Jonathan Mobile is in the same corner as him. Jakob Poeltl is trying to like post up in the same area as him, and they try to make a pass and it gets swiped and it's a turnover. Like, what are we doing? Right? Like those type of mistakes. With 4 timeouts left, obviously 2 for the Raptors, 2 for New York, down the stretch in a tie game, Darko Rajacic comes out of the timeout and he doesn't play offense defense, or he doesn't play offense defense in that scenario. He has Grady on the floor. He has other small guards, but most importantly, he has Grady on the floor, who was not good in this game. Whatever. Grady's always have a bad game, but like you have Jonathan Mobile on your bench, you have other defenders on your bench. Like, at least try to play offense defense. Man, the Knicks were playing offense defense with their captain and Jalen Brunson down the stretch. Where was the lack of execution on the offense defense? Raptors looked indecisive, trying to trap Jalen Brunson. If that's the plan coming in the timeout, that we're going to blitz Jalen Brunson, well, guess what you can't do after coming out of a blitz? You can't let the guy turn the corner, because that means 2 defenders are not taking out the play, and then he's able to pass it easily to Karl-Anthony Towns going to the basket, and guess who's rotating down for the potential to try to block him? Grady Dick. When is Grady Dick going to block Karl-Anthony Towns? Right? Offense, defense. That's on the coach. And honestly, the execution between Davion and Jakob Poeltl, that's on both of them to not be able to corral. If you're going to trap, and honestly, they didn't look that sure, but if you're going to trap, you cannot let him turn the corner. You have to make him turn his back and flip the other way and look for another option, or at least make a riskier pass than a wide open roll to the basket for Karl-Anthony Towns. Those things the Raptors got to come out and do better. Raptors coming out of the timeout with a play, right? Okay, fine. Raptors are down. I think Raptors are down 2 coming out of the timeout, and they inbound the ball to RJ Barrett. Obviously, you're going to give it to RJ. RJ's got 30. But what's the play? The play can't just be a simple pick and roll with RJ going downhill. Like, the Knicks have seen that for the whole 47 and a half minutes before that. And coming out of the timeout, I know Tibbs with his hoarse voice is going to be like, that's going to be RJ coming downhill. Cat, I want you to stay near the basket because RJ doesn't want to shoot a floater or a layup. He wants to mostly go to the rim. Like, that, right? And of course, Cat does that. Even Cat executes down the stretch. He's like, okay, I'm gonna stay there at the rim. I'm gonna be tall. And then obviously RJ has to slow up. Then he gets to go for a contested shot. And by that point, OG's there for the block. Nothing a little bit better than that. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, even coming out the final timeout, Raptors down 5. At this point, obviously, you're not going to win the game, but at least execute a play. And the play, like the Raptors barely get it inbounded, damn near a 5-second count, and they inbound it to Jakob, who steps out of bounds. It's like that stuff for the Raptors. They are going to keep hitting this frustration, and we're going to keep feeling this frustration, independent of the refs or not. Because I want to say at this point, I'm done with the refs. Like, independent of the refs or not, Raptors this season have made so many mistakes down the stretch that has turned this season from this is a very competitive team and a very young team, but also at the same time, this is a team that shoots itself in the foot over and over and over again. I don't think the coaching is necessarily the strongest in these moments, but of course, the execution from the players is the most important thing, and that's not strong either. And that's where this team has to over and over again learn this lesson, value possessions, be able to execute plays. And of course, you need obviously, the right substitution patterns or the right play calls, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the Raptors literally just for the last minute of the game lost their heads. And you know what? As fans, we're losing our heads. Shouts to Jack for, calling it as it is. That and one should have been an and one rather than like on the floor. Let's have a side out. You know what? The referee, all the fans here in the building, only game in the association in the NBA tonight, Raptors Knicks. For some reason, everyone off is Raptors Knicks tonight. Only game literally in the entire league. You know what the whole world wants to see right now? A sideline out of bounds. Whatever. Okay, I said I'm done with the rest. But like the Raptors themselves need to improve late game execution. And that's regardless of the tanky or not, this team moving forward, it's honestly like how many times have we seen this game? Like 6, 7, 8 times, 8 losses like this with the Raptors this season. That just needs to be better. Of course, you can always say that they're losing because they're young and it's competitive and that's enough for you. Fine. That could be enough for you. That doesn't mean that it can't be frustrating. Sometimes it can be frustrating and it could be enough. Obviously, for me, like I would love to see them be able to sort of pull it out a little bit better if they had Scottie Barnes, which obviously with Scottie, the Raptors' execution down the stretch becomes a lot better. We've seen them win closer games, for example, when he's available, like the Heat game that they won like the Minnesota game when they won, like the Pacers game, although that one was actually I wasn't really worried about the Pacers, but like still, it helps to have Scottie. But unfortunately, Scottie goes down. That's another big part of this game. Raptors, after Scottie had a really good start to the third quarter, knocked down back-to-back threes, knocked down a short turnaround jumper. I think he pulled up for a transition jumper, missed it. The Timberwolves went the other way. Raptors actually contained the first wave of the transition offense. They got it to Cat in the post against Jakob, and Cat looked like have the advantage. And Scottie came from the blind side, from behind him, trying to make a play on the ball. Ends up committing the foul, but also upon landing, Cat has like size, I feel like 25 feet. It's crazy looking at him courtside because his feet are just gigantic. But like, yeah, Scottie ends up landing on his foot, rolling his ankle, and having to leave the game under assistance from the training staff. So we'll see on that front. But the diagnosis, it's pretty obvious. He turned his ankle. We'll see how long that takes. But like that kind of like took some of the wind out of Toronto's sails. But again, like the team played hard. They competed. Multiple guys stepped up. I thought Jakob had a pretty good game. I thought Jacoby Walter had a phenomenal game. Jonathan Mobile came up with a phenomenal game. Davion Mitchell, who was quiet, especially offensively for the first half, was sensational in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, causing multiple turnovers, forcing travels, forcing moving screens, forcing the strip. There's a play where Jalen Brunson ran out the other way, one-on-one, and Davion Mitchell's the only one to get guy back, and he's backpedaling. And at the last moment, when Brunson goes up for the layup, he also strips him strong, with the strong hand going up. The ball rolls to the sideline, and then Grady, scraps with Brunson and ultimately knocks it off of Brunson out of bounds. That's great hustle. Those things are all really good. And Davion Mitchell knocking down a corner three, knocking down a tough left-handed driving layup out of nowhere for the team. Those are all huge plays that the team combined to make. And of course, RJ Barrett being the leader in all of that. The entire night, the presence, going downhill, driving time and time again. Never getting a foul call, but literally outside of one time that he got a shooting foul, never getting a foul call despite how many times he drove, relentless in going downhill. This guy's getting guarded by OG Anunoby, who we can all agree as longtime Raptor fans, as like obviously outside of Kawhi, but outside of Kawhi, the best ever wing defender we've had, the best wing defender in the league right now is OG Anunoby. And he's guarding RJ Barrett the entire night, and RJ still gives you 30, an efficient 30. Yeah, of course, RJ got blocked by OG at the play there, but it's 1-on-2, whatever. A lot of guys will drive and get blocked 1-on-2. That happens. But like, still get you 30, an efficient 30, while getting guarded by OG and getting no calls. Like, shouts to RJ Barrett, man. Like I feel like maybe late game down the stretch, there are things that he can improve on, but we're always focused on what RJ can't do. How about we give him the props of how much he can do? Like we talked about on this week's episode of like ESPN puts out the under 25 under 25, RJ's 24. So it's the last chance he gets to be on this list, whatever. Who cares? It's just a list. But it's like, he's not on that list. We're just like, okay, maybe let's see who's on the list. We got role players ahead of him on this list. Like good role players for sure. Like, no, don't get me wrong. Good role players. You tell me Tari Eason's getting 30 on OG Anunoby? Really? You telling me Derek Lively's getting 30 on OG Anunoby? Right? Like, what are we talking about here? And OG, yeah, like, can RJ improve on the defensive end? Can he obviously, improve in terms of the variation in his offense? Sure. But this man gets to the rim. And like, honestly, like the way that last year when Darko snapped in LA, everyone remembers that incident, and he went all out and he went to bat for Scottie Barnes. Can somebody go to bat in an official capacity, not just me as a fan, not just fans on social? Can somebody go to bat for RJ Barrett from the team, please? Because look at the fact that this man is third in the NBA in attempts at the rim, right? And everybody else in the top 10 is 6'11" or better, right? We're talking about Giannis is ahead of him, AD's ahead of him, then it's RJ, and then it's like 7 more bigs, right? This man drives to the basket relentlessly, and the calls, man. I mean, like, anyway, whatever though. It was a really good effort, and I thought RJ tonight, was just this kind of the same as he does all night. I mean, I would say that it was a revenge game, but like, I mean, he wasn't getting no revenge on the Pacers when he had 30 plus. He wasn't getting no revenge on the Heat when he had basically 30. He had 29 in that one. Like, this is just what he does, and he just even against elite defenders, this is still working, right? The tough finishes that he made, the alley-oop that he made, the fact that him and Jakob were so good at sort of like, teams are really taking away that pocket pass back to Jakob. And Jakob is also adjusting by being like, fine, I'll be unselfish then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll, I'm going to seal, I'm going to bump off the help defender. I'm going to let RJ, use essentially me as like an offensive center, basically. And he's going to use that block and he's going to follow that path like a running back. This guy's just relentless, man. I mean, salute to RJ Barrett, like knocking down the 3 threes as well, 3 of 7 from 3. It just and the passes too were really good. I mean, the Raptors missed a lot of threes tonight, especially in the second half. It happens. But like the way the RJ was throwing those passes across the court, man, the vision to see some of those, like those are all really good. And honestly, in the lieu of obviously Scottie going down and not being able to finish out this game, and hopefully he's okay and it's not going to hold him out for too long, because this Raptors season has just been absolutely snake bitten with injuries. In the absence of that, when you don't have your first option, this is what I want my second option to do: step up and look like a first option no matter what, man. And I thought RJ honestly played like a really brave game. He does this every single night. And I just thought that, like, he deserved a better result than this. He deserved a goddamn and one when he finished an and one instead of a sideline out of bounds. Jakob Walter in his, continues to be part of the rotation here. Raptors have, allowed him to obviously, since he's come back in off of injuries with the shoulders, he's been a consistent part of this team. And you know what? It's up and down sometimes. It's obviously he's shooting a lot of jumpers right now, so sometimes they'll roll in, whatever. But I like so much of what this kid does. Tonight obviously was the best game of his pro career to date. In the future, he'll have many of these type of games. But right now, this was like the best game that he's played in the pros today. 19 points in 22 minutes. He goes 6 of 12 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3, 4 or 5 from the foul line. Beyond the stat line, which is obviously pretty good. This is what I liked about the process of the way Jakob Walter went about his business. Because for a rookie, he shows you some savvy, okay? Couple plays that he made tonight. He has Karl Anthony Towns, one-on-one, off a drive. They're in the paint. He stops, up fake to lift Towns right around that sort of like free throw line area, and then a step through to the side to get themselves that space to put in that floater. That's a very savvy move. That's knowing where you are on the floor, where the help defender is, what the big is thinking, because the big is obviously dropping back, thinking he's going to go to the basket. When you put up the little up fake, that obviously draws him closer to you, and then the sidestep to get around that contested finish. Very, very savvy move from a rookie player. Him sliding his feet, knocking down a corner three, whatever, that happens a lot. But I still think good footwork to sort of get himself in position for a corner three. Another play where he's driving off the baseline and he uses an up fake to draw the foul, and then he goes up for the shot. He doesn't rush for a young player. Young players rush a lot. Mobo, for example, rushes a lot of his finishes around the hoop. That's why I feel like outside of those dunks, he still needs to sort of figure out a more consistent way to finish. But sometimes I feel like he's too eager to sort of throw up a shot, right? Jacoby's under control. Like, he knows to throw an up fake here or there. How do you think he goes to the foul line so much? How do you think that even in college, right, that was one of the standout things for his collegiate profile, was for a guy who's primarily a shooter, he draws a decent amount of fouls. And it's in a variety of ways. And that's something that stood out analytically. It's like, if you can draw fouls, it shows you an offensive savvy. And again, that's a freshman that was doing that last year at Baylor, and now that's a rookie here for the Raptors doing those type of plays. Another play where he comes off the drive, goes for an up fake, gets fouled, goes to the free throw line. Those are his 5 free throws. There's another play where he's like, there's a drive, he reads it, he fans out, he backpedals to the 3-point line, catches and shoots. That's, again, just like really good recognition. There's another play that he doesn't even get a stat for this, but it was the third quarter and the Raptors had both him and Grady Dick on the floor. RJ was out and Kelly was playing center, and the play was pretty much dead. Kelly had the ball in the post, looking to pass, shot clock at 5 at this point. And out of nowhere, Grady Dick gets an open cut to the basket and finishes with a layup off a pass from Kelly. How did that happen? They show the replay. Grady and Jacoby were on the other side of the floor, and Jacoby set a really firm screen on Grady's guy, and that allowed Grady that space to cut downhill to get to the basket. Not in the box score, but a really solid screen by the rookie to do that. Jakob with a 4-point play potential at the end there. Missed the free throw. That's got to be better. Again, every point in the fourth quarter is so damn important. But the fact that he's able to sort of finish like that, despite the fact that he gets fouled on the three, one of the few times the Raptors went to the foul line tonight. Seriously, though, like the fact that the Raptors went to the foul line 11 times and 5 were from a rookie who doesn't even have the ball that much is really impressive to me. Jakob continues to impress me, man. I think the 3-point shot for him so far on the season has been a little bit more inconsistent. That's going to come around in his young career. Those things are going to, eventually apply themselves. And I think that he's going to be a good shooter in this league. But you know what? Even if he doesn't knock down the threes, the recognition that he has, the athleticism going to the basket, and it's not like a lot of these young guys, like they're flying to the rim. They're so eager to, show off like their dunk, or they're so eager to like crash to the basket. And he kind of sells that idea and then pump fakes. And then, you know what I mean? And it's just the recognition and awareness the savvy is already there in his game. I think defensively too, he does a really good job too, man. He's a guy who stays attached to guys, pressures well, uses his length well. And, I continue to really just enjoy watching his growth and what more he has to show us. But tonight, I think this is kind of a blueprint to a lot of the games that he's going to have in the future. But he had a really good game, and he carried that second unit there for the team. Jonathan Mobo, especially since Kelly Olynyk's come back, he's had to play in a lot more 2 big lineups. Now, I think the second unit's offense looks a little confused and muddled right now. I feel like they could really use somebody to really lead and guide them. When it was Scottie and Jakob with the second unit, that didn't look particularly strong either. But I think that, RJ with the bench also didn't look strong either. So, like, they got to find out something. But I think they have something there with Kelly being the playmaker. And that's something where Mobo has had to adjust his game now, because Mobo has been that secondary lineups like center basically. And in these DHO actions, these dribble handoffs where they give the ball to the big man, and then obviously he like dribbles towards a guard, the guard drives another way, catches the ball, tries to turn the corner and get some space going towards the basket. I think that Jonathan has obviously been displaced from that role. It's more Kelly now. And honestly, it should be Kelly, because Kelly has more of an ability to do that, because he can space it, shoot the three. We saw him sort of catch and shoot for 3, although one time the foot was on the line. But like, he's got this ability to space. He's got the ability to play make. Mobile's got the ability to play make too, but that means that Mobile's had to do more of the ball handling. And that means that he's also had to play more with Jakob as well. And I feel like those guys are finding chemistry in terms of sort of knowing where to go. Now, I think for Mobile, the strongest thing for him, maybe the most immediate thing for him to do would be to sort of continue to improve on the catch and shoot threes. That's something he's been working on. I feel like actually when he gets a good catch on the ball, this is like, again, the Sicko warm-up report, your daily Sicko warm-up report. When he gets a good catch on the ball, the release is actually okay. But I feel like sometimes he doesn't catch the ball well. And then when he puts it up, there's a crazy side spin. So like there can be some pretty inconsistent results. But ultimately, if he can get to the point where he's a good catch and shoot 3-point shooter too, that will open up so much more for his game, because he can handle it. He can make reads even in tight traffic. I think he does a good job of that. And then he's just active. He's just, crashing with the glass and stuff like that. 3 offensive rebounds for him, 3 for Kelly Olynyk, 6 for Jakob Poeltl. Those extra possessions really helped the Raptors stay in this game. They had 17 offensive rebounds to 6 for New York. New York's also obviously banged up. They haven't really had a center all season. Cats had to play there. And then, of course, like, you got Precious as your small ball center coming off the bench. Precious actually had a good game tonight, so salute to Precious. Yeah, I thought, the 2 rookies looked decent. I felt a little bit bad for Jamison Battle. This is what happens when you're on a 2-way, because the thing is, like, you get like 50 games, I believe, of like essentially like 2 ways, almost like a free trial in a way. You know what I mean? Like you get like 2 weeks, and then you're like, all right, we're gonna have to really pay him. You know what I mean? So it's like got 50 games of them. The Raptors have obviously used them in a lot so far this season. But even though the 905 are not playing tonight, they were like, yeah, we're gonna recall Jamal Shed, but we're not gonna recall Jamison Battle. And so he wasn't even dressed for the game tonight, so that doesn't count towards one of his 50. Which I do feel like, honestly, for Battle, it's like he's played well enough. He's played well enough to be in the rotation all season, and maybe because of the guys getting healthier and stuff like that, other guys have been affected. Obviously, Jamal Shed didn't see playing time tonight. Chris Boucher continues to second game in a row with the DNP. Obviously, Kelly has come back and taken his minutes. But it's like, This is different than Chris getting a DNP. Like this, he didn't even dress. He wasn't even with the team tonight. It's kind of just like massaging. It's like essentially the free trial. It's like when you're like, oh man, my Apple TV week is over. I'm gonna use a different email to sign up for a different account to get another 7 days. It's just a little bit like that. But yeah, I mean, I think finally to wrap before obviously we take a break. Obviously, get to your questions once again. Drop your questions into the chat. Producer Alex Wong is looking for those right now, and of course, hit the like on the stream because honestly, use the up button on the stream on the YouTube if you think that should have been an and one instead of whatever the hell Tony Brothers saw on the sideline there. Okay, use the up button if you think we got screwed by Tony Brothers tonight. Last thing, I gotta say, I was pretty underwhelmed with both Ochai and Grady tonight. I think there's a couple moments with Ochai. I feel like defensively, I just want to see more. I know he's already a good defender, but I'm gonna need him to be a great defender. There are moments where like I just feel like he's just giving again the too much space thing. I've already talked about it. There's even a play tonight where I noticed where he's like on the baseline, like he's in help position. And there's a drive straight towards his, like it's right there in front of him, and he didn't even contest. It's like I need to feel his presence all the time defensively. Obviously, shooting for OG level defense is a lot, right? You're basically saying, look at the proficiency. I'm basically being the Asian parent. Wow, oh my God, parenting's coming up again. But it's like, my parents were like, look at the proficiency kids in your class. Look at that. Look at her. She's like a 95% student. Like, just do whatever she's doing. Become her friend. Like, study with her. You know what I mean? Like, try to copy their habits. They hand you that book of the 7 habits of highly effective people. I mean, how about you just let people like just exist? But like, regardless, you see OG. He is you notice him all the time defensively. He's getting deflections. He's coming out of nowhere for steals. He's recording blocks. He's contesting shots. He's like, he blocked back-to-back threes at one point. But he's like, making it tough to catch the ball, making it tough to inbound the ball. Even when he commits a foul, he takes a foul in a purposeful way. He fights through screens. Ochai does a lot of good stuff, but it's like, you don't feel him defensively. Like, I didn't feel like Brunson was like, oh, I need to get him off of me. I need to I can't get to the spots that I want to get to. He's just kind of there as a shepherd. He's in place. He's better than most defenders on the Raptors. But in order for him to contribute at the highest level for this team, he needs to be elite defensively. There's another gear with Ochai. I genuinely have to believe that because he's already done a good job this season of being like a decent like fourth or fifth option, right? Honestly, a pretty efficient one. Tonight, whatever, didn't have it, but like still, in general, he's been pretty good. That's not what I'm complaining about. I feel like for him to make his place in this team, he needs to get even better defensively. It can't just be good. It's got to be great. Sorry, I got to be an Asian parent on that, but seriously, like, you know what I mean? You want to go to Mac Health side, you better get that 90 plus average and have like a drama career apparently, or some sort of like weird extracurricular. And then the last thing with Grady is like, he just didn't have. I mean, he took good shots tonight. He just couldn't knock them down. Like some wide open shots. He had a wide open 3 towards the end of the game there. Again, like, you got to convert those, right? Cat getting an open 3. What does he do? Knock down the 3 and then show you that he's from New York. Cool. That was Grady. Like, Grady had a even more open 3 at the top of the 40. He missed it. He just kind of had an off night. 3 of 11 tonight. 1 of 5 from 3. Missed a couple of chippies at the basket too. Like, yeah, I mean, I just think for Grady, just continue to be aggressive. 11 shots tonight. It could have been more, I guess. I don't know. It felt like, especially with, honestly, even Scottie when he was playing didn't really feel like he was like that sort of focused on the scoring outside the third quarter. Third quarter, he obviously started popping up. First half, I thought he wasn't as aggressive looking to score. But it felt like only RJ really wanted to score tonight. You know what I mean? I think for the Raptors, like, I think for Grady, you got to shoot through some of these slumps. You know what I mean? Like, just keep hunting your shots no matter what. But defensively, I mean, I don't know. The Knicks were clear like, okay, we want to bring, Grady Dick into the play, or we want to involve him in some way. And that's just going to continue to happen. I guess that's part of the development too, right? It's like when I talk about like, okay, maybe you got to play offense, defense. Well, maybe you could look at it like they're keeping on the floor for developmental reps. I mean, it burns me to see that because I'm like, you could have repped that out in practice, for example, but I suppose you really do learn best when you get thrown into the water. So, look, it was actually a really fun game. I thought the Raptors played with a lot of heart. Defensively, they actually executed pretty well. Knicks shot a pretty good percentage overall. That's what they do. 51% from the field, 42% from three. Cat obviously was kind of that big differential factor there. Mikal Bridges low-key kind of killed us as well. Whatever. We'll get to that in the second half of the program. But yeah, Raptors lose. We're going to take a quick break, hear from a friend of the program here, one of our sponsors. And when we come back, we will take your questions and hand out the 3 stars.
Hey, man.
Hey, buddy.
Just recently hit the big 4-0. What about you, bro?
A little more recently 4-0, but we are both in the 40 club.
Let me tell you, man, being an adult really comes with its share of challenges.
Definitely. I think both you and I are homeowners, and I think we're both also dealing with mortgages in life.
Yeah, man, mortgage rates, choosing the right terms, dealing with paperwork, it can be really overwhelming,
I still don't know how that works.
Well, listen, that's where our friends at Dominion Lending Centers come in, man. They make the whole process simple and stress-free. Whether you're renewing your mortgage, hunting for the best rates, or if you just need advice, they're here to help, bro.
You know what? I am looking for that advice, and I think that's why I'm going to visit www.dominionlending.ca.
Yeah, man, www.dominionlending.ca. Take the guesswork out of your mortgage and step into financial confidence with our friends at Dominion Lending by our side.
There you go. And it is time now for the Tangerine fan inbox. I want to let you know that Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors, a foundational partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. And of course, they're not just fans of fans, they're fans of basketball. Well, they're fans of fans who have their own nickname for each guy that's starting five. They're fans of fans actually who come to the Hello Welcome live podcast showings and then hand out tickets. Because like both times we've gone to Tangerine and we're like, hey, we're doing a live event. We're on TMU's campus. Like, can we give some giveaways to the fans? And they're like, no problem. How about we give you some tickets to give away? And both times we've been able to send like younger fans, like the guys who are, or fans who are like literally university age, to bring them to the game. I know for the Raptors, like honestly, how many university students got like hundreds of dollars to shell out to go sit lower bowl and have a good time? And then premium games too. Like we're not talking Tangerines giving us like Raptors Kings tickets. Well, I guess that would have been cool this year because that was Vince's retirement. But I mean, like, you know, they're not giving us Raptors, like, you know, Pistons tickets. Like they're giving us Raptors Lakers. And we sent fans to Raptors Lakers, courtesy of Tangerine. They're giving us tickets. Raptors, Knicks, right? Premium game. OG's coming back. And we were to send them happily to the game. They're genuinely fans of basketball. And this year, if you're hearing this, if there's no doubt in your commitment, fans like you are at the heart of what makes this game great. So this year for the Raptors' 30th anniversary, they're turning the spotlight from the court to the stands to celebrate the way Raptor fans support their team, because this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. Alex Wong, what's our first question here? First one from Alex Newen. With Orlando making really good strides this season, how long do you think it will be when we reach their scrappy competitive status? So it's a great question. I think Orlando has drafted for these like defensive type of players, right? Like defensive culture setters. Jalen Suggs is a defensive culture setter. He's also starting to knock down threes at a pretty good clip, honestly. Like he's actually playing really well. But like those are the type of players that they have. And then they brought in a coach that has really nailed into them more than anything else. You need to defend at a really high level. And you watch them, even with the injuries that they had, right? Like they've suffered injuries now, oblique injuries to Paolo Banchero, and then Franz Wagner has gone down since too. Last game I watched them, they still won the game. And it was against, I believe, Phoenix. Like, it's a good team. Like, they still beat them because of the organizational culture that they've set across the board. Any single player that comes in, they play defense, they're scrappy, they're physical, they're hard. I feel like, you know, teams got to be able to both be, they got to be intentional and sort of like, they can't just wish it onto their players. They got to practice it, they got to draft for it. And the Magic have done a really good job with that. And honestly, for most young teams, if you can come up by being great defensively, that's how you sort of take yourself from being a tanking team to being a team that's emerging. So salute to the Magic. They've actually done a really good job building their program. Next question. Gabriel, hey, Will, which rookies impressing you the most so far, especially after this game? Who is on an all-rookie team? Wow, okay, this is a good question right off the bat. Let me just quickly pivot over and pull up the rookie stats for this rookie class, because I'm assuming this is not just Raptors. Because like honestly, all the Raptors rookies have impressed in their own way in some moments. Shout out to Jakob once again, being able to really have a a really good game here tonight with 19 points. Let me pull up the rookies right now. So Jared McCain, McCain's been revelation, honestly. Like, the Sixers are low-key starting to turn their season around a little bit. They had a really nice win over not a really nice. They had a pretty good game against the Bulls, where they would have come back after a slow start and they were to win that game pretty comfortably. Embiid played in that one, looked a lot better. McCain has just been a revelation for that team. He's now I guess he's starting for them too. Like, he should be. Like, he's playing really well. Seems pretty offensively. He seems pretty offensively complete for a guy who was taken obviously later in the draft. Fun fact: the Raptors actually did lose a 4-way coin toss where I believe the Lakers, the Heat, the Pacers, and maybe one more team. There's one more team in that mix. Orlando. They all had 47 wins last year. And the Raptors obviously had the Pacers pick. So they had to like essentially do a 4-way coin toss or whatever. I don't know how that works. But like basically the Raptors could have had anywhere between the 15th pick and the 16th pick and the 19th pick. And the Raptors ended up picking 19th. It just was bad, luck in that sense. But like obviously McCain got taken in that stretch. Whatever. It happens. But like there's no guarantee the Raptors would have taken McCain either, by the way. But like, yeah, he's certainly on their all rookie team. Stephon Castle is really turning around. I think, I probably put him on the team. I think he's giving you a 2-way presence. Feel like he had a slow start, but he's had some pretty good moments. At center, I probably put Yves Missi. I know it's basically between him and Zach Edey. Zach's playing decently. Like, Zach's giving you 11 points a game, a 61% shooting, giving you 7 rebounds. But I feel like with Missi, like, he's not nearly as offensively gifted as Zach, but defensively, I feel like, he provides a lot of resistance. Obviously, the Magic or the Pelicans are just like a complete mess this year, but I probably put him on. So that's my 2 guards and my center. Jalen Wells has played pretty well too. Like for the Grizzlies, he's contributed to a winning team as a rookie. That's impressive. And then I don't know who you want to take a pick for the 5th guy. I mean, there's a lot of other options. Honestly, like, I'll throw Mobo in that mix. Why not? I'll throw Mobo in that mix. I feel like Mobo has all season, stepped up, contributed, played a variety of roles for the team, and he's been good. But realistically, it's probably not going to be Mobo. It's probably going to be like, I don't know, maybe it's a dual center with Zach Edey and Yves Missi. But yeah, it's a weird rookie class. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a pretty weird rookie class. But maybe 1 or 2 all-stars appear from this. They usually do statistically. Next question. From Chawi, will we see Jamal Shed back again? I feel like your best bet to see Jamal Shed in the near future is to go to Mississauga and the Paramount Fine Food Center and just check out a 905 game. I think he's actually been featured quite a bit. I saw the last game he had like a 12 assists or whatever. Yeah, I mean, this was kind of like the likely path for him this season was the fact that once the Raptors got healthier and healthier, obviously the rookies are not going to play nearly as much. I will have to say, if Scottie goes out for any sort of extended stretch here, that probably puts Davion Mitchell back into the starting 5, and that probably puts Jamal Shed back into as the backup point guard. But of course, eventually Emmanuel Quickley will be healthy. Obviously, when Scottie's healthy, like he's basically your 4th string point guard because they're kind of playing Scottie at point 2. So that's a tough part, but I love Jamal Shed, man. I think he's going to have a really good future with the Raptors. I really like the way that he plays. He's a personality fit as well. Again, when you go to the game super early, 2.5 hours to watch warm-ups, and you see Jamal Shed, great attitude. The Raptors actually have this drill that they do with the rookies when they're warming up together, where they have 5 spots on the floor. So the 2 corners, the 2 wings, and the top of the floor, and it's basically like a race, right? So today they had 3 players do it. There was Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shed, and Jonathan Mobo, and it's a race to see who can make 10 threes from each spot first. So it's literally just like, it looks like Papa Shot, like 3 guys just shooting threes nonstop, and I think Jamal Shed actually won it today. So big shots to Jamal Shed. You think he narrowly beat Jacoby, who was on a pretty good streak himself, but Jamal's a good character. He's a great dude, and I think honestly, actually, yeah, now that Scottie's injured, maybe you don't have to go to Paramount. Maybe you can just go to Scotiabank, because I think he'll probably be back at backup point guard. But I think, when guys are healthy, he's not going to play that much. It's kind of the case for most rookies. But good question here. Next from the chat here, Padre 3000 question: are the Knicks the deepest team in the East once Mitchell Robinson returns? Add LeBron at deadline. LOL. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, are the deepest team. I mean, first off, does it matter how deep you are if Tibbs is only going to play 8 guys no matter what? Like, come on, man. Like, I mean, I feel like, I feel like that's not going to make that much of a difference. I feel like first off, their starting 5 is really good. Like, I actually just did I did a preview episode here at Knicks Fan TV. It's a really good community run channel over there too, over at the Knicks, and the one of the guys over there, Alex, he likes to have me on a lot. So, I'm happy to talk about the Knicks. I actually, honestly, Loki, I kind of really like the Knicks. Just in general, especially this team. I actually really like the Knicks fans. I feel like they're actually super engaged in a way that I wish most fan bases are. And if you do find them annoying, that's just because they're so engaged, quite frankly. And they're whatever. There's some like New Yorkers like to brag and stuff like that. It happens, whatever. I don't mind a bit of swagger either. But so I was doing some research on the Knicks game, and like all 5 of their starters average between 14 and 25 points. That's incredible. Now it's a bit top heavy, but that's still incredible. And tonight, for example, exactly that. 23 for Mikal Bridges, 14 for OG, 24 for Cat, 20 for Brunson, and then 10 for Josh Hart. Like, that's every game for them. They just have that kind of, that's what sort of that depth kind of feels like. Now coming off the bench, it's like sometimes, like Miles McBride, like that guy jumps a million feet in the air and then shoots a pretty wet jumper. He's got some. Cameron Payne had to play a lot today, basically because Brunson twisted his ankle a brief amount of time. So he had to play a little bit extended minutes. He was okay. Precious, just got back in the lineup. I don't necessarily. I feel like, honestly, like Boston obviously gives you 8 deep when they're healthy, right? They can bring Horford off the bench. They can bring Pritchard off the bench, and then Sam Hauser. Like that's 8 deep, but that's also obviously the best 8-man rotation in basketball, plus their starting 5. Orlando's low-key kind of deep. Like, I know a lot of these guys aren't household names, but if you've been watching Magic games recently, you're seeing like Goga Batadze has been a really good backup center for them. He had the game clinching tip in the game yesterday when they won. There's obviously Jonathan Isaac that's coming off that bench. They have Anthony Black, the rookie or the sophomore, is having a pretty nice season as well. They're low-key pretty deep. The funny thing is they signed KCP to be like their 3-and-D option. They've clearly needed one. I think he's shooting like in the 30s. Every game I watch, KCP is just breaking the most open threes, but whatever. But yeah, the Knicks, I mean, I think the Knicks actually have one more trade to make. I think they need to grab one more piece, especially at center. I think they can do it really well. Basically, they need to replace what Hartenstein did for them last year, which is not easy, but I think that the Knicks are really good, though. I actually really like the Knicks, man. Even preseason, going back to preseason, I really like the Knicks. Next question. What's up, Alex? We're out of questions? That's it? All right, I'll show one of these. Gabriel says, what's the estimate for IQ coming back at the moment? That was, I think with IQ, Darko talked about it. He said it's been 4 weeks since the injury. He says for this type of injury, they really need to give it a lot of rest. And so, that's kind of where it's at. I mean, at the same time, like I mentioned, the last time I went to practice, he was kind of just like practicing on his own. He wasn't like going through contact, wasn't going through the practices. So I feel like that's got to be at least like another 2 weeks. I mean, maybe like they do another scan and they see everything's okay. And maybe he feels better. Things could turn around. But like, yeah, it just doesn't feel like he's like imminently close. Again, like I would love to see what IQ does with this team. Like the fact that the Raptors have been so banged up all season is just like, it's even right now, it's like, oh, they finally get Kelly back, but that means someone else got to go down. And somehow it's got to be Scottie. Like we've just been snake bitten all season with injuries. And then, the last one here. Do you think RJ has a chance to make the All-Star team with guys like Poeltl and Wagner out long term? I mean, honestly, if the Raptors had a winning record or even close to a 500 record, I think RJ will be right there for the All-Star team. Like his numbers for the season are pretty damn good. I think after this game where he had 30 points, RJ Barrett for the Raptors is, let me just update my stats here. Hold on. RJ for the season is 24th in the league in scoring at 23.6 points per game. He's True shooting percentage is actually above league average. He had a cold probably 2 weeks there, but he fought through it. But he's giving you 6.6 rebounds, 5.8 assists, and yeah, I mean, I feel like for RJ, like he's played at a really high level. He's 24th in the NBA in scoring. He's averaging more points than Wemby. You know what I mean? He's averaging more points than LeBron and Steph. Wow, that's really impressive. I guess Embiid hasn't really started. He's averaging more points than Ja, for example. But like, regardless, I think like it's so hard to make a case for players when they are on losing teams to get to the All-Star game. And so like, just like in the past when we used to send Kyle and DeMar to the All-Star game, no problem. Not only were they playing All-Star levels, but the Raptors had great records. So it was like kind of a shoo-in to get those guys in. This year, honestly, I think that like if there was one All-Star representative for the Raptors, I think it probably would still be Scottie. I think Scottie obviously is the Raptors' number one option. He is the best player, but RJ has been there consistently, and man, he's had a good game, man. I really, really respect what RJ does with this group. But maybe we might have to make a little push. Make a little push, see what But honestly, the stats are good enough already. But I think it's mostly just the team needs to start winning. And honestly, like part of him coming through with that is like a lot of these late game scenarios, the ball does go to RJ, and he's been on the losing end of that more than the other. So whatever way that he gets to figure out with himself and also with the coaching staff, and the rest of his teammates, the better. Because if they flip some of these games, again, if the Raptors didn't lose like every close game they're in, there's a world where the Raptors are over 500, even with this team with all the injuries. They just like, yeah. Anyway, their late game execution can use a lot of help. So I believe that's it for the questions, Alex, unless there's more. But otherwise, yeah, let's wrap up the pod here. Let's get to the 3 stars from tonight's game. First star, I'm going to give that to RJ, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. I just thought he played a really good game, 37 minutes, especially when Scottie went down. There was kind of no one else to really initiate offense. And RJ, again, despite getting guarded by OG, man, he still had a really good game. So only getting 2 free throws. Like, I can't believe it, bro. I'm sick, man. I'm sick for this man. I'm so sick for him. Your second star, I'm going to give that to Jakob Poeltl, 19 points off the bench for the rookie. Should have been his first career 20-point game. Missed a free throw at the end there. But in general, I thought he played a really smooth, like pretty poised game for a guy who is has he even played 10 professional games yet for the Raptors? Like I don't think so, man. That was really, really a great game for him. And then your third star, it's Jakob. Jakob was your third star. I mean, Scottie obviously would have been your third star if obviously he was able to finish out the game. Hopefully Scottie get back soon. I think the update post game from Darko was that the X-rays were negative, but we'll see. Again, the Raptors have been taking their time, sort of just being very careful with players coming back from injuries. We'll see, obviously, sort of how long he's out. Luckily, the Raptors obviously have, just like most other teams in the league, like have a pretty quiet schedule for the week of the NBA Cup. So, maybe if they doesn't miss as many times, because Raptors have played a pretty condensed schedule. I think the stat was like they played 9 games in the last 16. Like, damn, how many of these live streams have I been doing? But regardless, I thought Jakob was their third best player tonight. 10 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. I thought he did a pretty good job overall. Had a difficult job having to be put in pick and rolls all the time with Brunson and Towns, but the Raptors executed pretty well until they didn't. And then the Knicks won. It happens. They're the better team. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner, that's got to go to Mikal Bridges. I mean, I've been watching Mikal a lot of the season. I've been watching a lot of the Knicks. They're pretty fun to watch. He's not been shooting like this, man. He was like quick firing the threes, man. Like just like fading transition threes. Like he was doing a great job, especially in that third quarter. Kept the Knicks really in it. In the fourth quarter, he made some too as well. And then the thing is, he just kept doing cowboy related things towards the Raptors bench. Obviously, with Bruce Brown continuing to sort of look like a cowboy on the sideline. But like. Yeah, I mean, he's doing the tip of the cap a couple times. I think one time he did the pistols. Like, man, it's I mean, whatever. Bridges is actually a pretty likable guy. Like, I just really like Bridges a lot. But like, yeah, 23 points for him. He really popped off offensively. I think without some of those threes, like the Knicks would have had to run more half court offense, and maybe Brunson does more of it, but like ultimately, Bridges really kept them in the game, and then of course Towns finished it out. So good game for a player who was traded for 5 first-round picks. And then finally, your most important guy. We want to remind you that the most important guy is brought to you by Greta Bar, YYZ. All right, Toronto, listen up. If you're looking for the ultimate spot to watch the Raptors game and level up your night, you got to check out Greta on 590 King Street West. This place is next level. You got Mario Kart, Papa Shot, all the classic arcade games that you love. But here's the thing, Greta's not just about the games. It's a spot for pregame hype, postgame celebration, or even catching every basket, dunk, or buzzer beater with you and your crew. Great food, cold drinks, a vibe that screams fun. Whether you're repping the Raptors or just wanting to crush your friends at the games, Greta is where it's at. Pull up to Greta where the games doesn't stop even after the buzzer. The most important guy tonight, I want to give it to, someone said Tony Brothers is the most important guy. Nah, man, screw that. Most important guy for this game is RJ Barrett. RJ had a phenomenal game, 30 points. More importantly, most important guy for this game is actually Mikal Grange over at Sportsnet, friend of the program. Fortunately, we can't get Grange on this season. I can't really say why, but obviously if we could, we'd get Grange all the time. Grange is a phenomenal storyteller. And I know that online people like to sort of poke fun at him, whatever. Sometimes he's a bit awkward as a person. I could tell you he's a very genuinely nice human being, and he's a really great storyteller. He over at Sportsnet, basically once or twice a year, he writes these big features, and he has written a phenomenal feature, like genuinely must read. I know in today's society, people don't even read anymore, which is crazy. But if you're a Raptor fan of any sort of any interest, if you're a basketball fan of any interest, take like 5 minutes out of your day. It probably takes 10, but just take 5, see how it goes. If you want to finish the article, you will. And go find Grange's piece on RJ Barrett. It's the pinned tweet on his social media profile on Twitter. But just go find the RJ Barrett profile. It is so good. And it's good for the reasons of it's well researched, it's well rehearsed. He's talked to so many people in and around RJ and his teammates, his trainer, his coaches, his family. And there's 2 things. Number one, it talks obviously about sort of what RJ has done to sort of fit in here in Toronto. He's played almost a calendar year here in Toronto. His stats have gone up. His efficiency's gone up. He's gotten into the reasons behind that, and that's the basketball portion. But the most important part of that piece for me was the people aspect. Mikal Grange has been very close to, he's probably known RJ since he was a boy. He's known Rowan Barrett. He's covered Canada basketball for a long time. When you put in that much equity around the team, around the organization, they start to trust you. And when, obviously, one of the saddest things that happened last year, beyond all the tragedies that hit the Raptors last year, but genuine tragedy, RJ Barrett losing his brother, his younger brother. And that, obviously, there were games last year where RJ would literally finish games and go straight to the hospital and just to spend a little bit more time with his brother who fell ill kind of out of nowhere. And that's a crazy tragedy for anybody to be going through. And of course, unfortunately, his brother passed. And I won't even say no one's gotten the scoop or the story, because it's not a scoop or a story. These are human beings, and if they're ready and willing to share it, then you give them that time and patience, however long they need. And I think it's a testament to the amount of trust that Grange has built with the Barrett family to be able to actually tell that story and to walk you through what RJ was feeling, what his family was feeling, what his brother meant to the world. It is such a beautiful piece. And I can't believe some people's biggest takeaway is this is how RJ improved this game. Ha ha. The best thing Grange did with this was show you in true form, both from RJ, but most importantly from the most important people around him in his life, his mom, his dad, his coaches, his trainers, his teammates, his friends. They've shown, through showing you RJ as the person, you've gotten to understand RJ as the player. And I think that's the best part of storytelling. That's honestly why people should be in sports media in the first place, is to write the piece that Grange wrote on RJ Barrett. So I genuinely cannot recommend that enough. That thing is so good. So salute to Grange. He's your most important guy tonight. He has always been a very important guy to us on the show. We obviously had him all the time at Raptor Show. I think he's actually going to the Raptor Show tomorrow to talk to Blake and Bonner about it. So check it out. But yeah, for all the people that like to shit on Mikal Grange, honestly, man, give your head a shake, man. He's genuinely the best reporter we have in the city, especially when it comes to telling basketball stories. So That's it. Thanks everyone for listening. Again, a tough way to go, but Raptors do have a couple days off here. Raptors obviously, hopefully Scottie's okay. And yeah, in the time off, again, I just can't recommend it enough. Go read Grange's piece. So thanks everyone for listening. Been your host, Wolu. This has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. And of course, check it out later this week. We will have more interviews for you. We actually sneak peek. We were able to interview Jack Armstrong. And I believe that one will come out on Wednesday. That one is a really, really fun episode. I mean, Jack is always a gem of a human being, but the conversations we were able to have on that was really cool. Obviously, we got to talk a lot about the Raps, but we got to talk a lot about Jack Armstrong, the person, as well. And shouts to Jack, man. He gave us a great time, and I'm excited for everyone to see that interview on Wednesday. So thanks everyone for listening. Hit like on the stream on your way out. If you enjoyed this, just hit like, please, on the stream. People will find it in the morning, and they'll know that a big audience was here because a lot of people liked it. And this has been the Hello Welcome podcast presented by Betway.